Question for Dr. Cook. I know it's like a word that's thrown around a lot, but like, what is anxiety?
There's a clinical definition of anxiety, which we find in the DSM-5 and which is our diagnostic manual for the clinical aspect. But then, I mean, everyone experiences some anxiety. Um, Thinking about doing this tonight, there was a little anxious feelings for me and myself. But basically, I think in lay terms, what I would say is anxiety is this feeling or emotion of fear, dread, or uneasiness. And it's a normal reaction to stress. Like we can be anxious about a test, we can be anxious about a performance, we can be anxious about challenges that we may be facing. And one of the things is when I work with each of the teams that I am, some anxiety is really beneficial. It actually increases performance to a point. And then if the anxiety keeps increasing, as Dr. Vigan was talking about, our performance goes down. So again, it's this feeling or emotion that's there. And in a clinical term, has to do with the neurotransmitters that are in our heads. And I think the one thing with both of these, as we talk about it, are mental struggles that we get. I think a lot of athletes struggle with, I must be weak if I'm anxious or depressed. Like we can have some power over being able to manage all of that. And sometimes we don't because it's the chemicals in our heads. And unfortunately, there's not a way right at the moment to measure those chemicals. And until we can get that accomplished, we don't really know what the neurotransmitters are, what the levels are. So is it a clinical anxiety or is it a situational anxiety? Oftentimes we don't know that, but the biggest predictor, or well, not predictor, but the biggest thing that we look at is how long is this lasting and in what circumstances. And if it's a clinical anxiety, sometimes we're just anxious and there's not a reason to be anxious. But again, it's that feeling of dread, uneasiness, that's created by the stresses oftentimes in our life.